Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Connected Lane County Reach Higher Careers panel. This evening, we will be exploring different career paths within the local finance and accounting sectors. Informing that conversation are our wonderful panelists, all business professionals from the greater Eugene-Springfield area, who I will let introduce themselves in just one moment. But as always, the questions that we have prepared to ask our panelists this afternoon were submitted by those of you watching live and those of you who registered. If you have any questions that arise during the conversation, I do encourage you to use the chat feature to type those questions in, and I will keep a close eye on any questions that are coming in, so we make sure to ask our panelists while we have them for the next 55 minutes. So, all right, I'm going to kick it over to Amanda. Could you please tell us who you are, what company you work for, and what your position is within that company?
Okay. Hi, my name is Amanda Waselik, and I work for Ninkasi Brewing Company here in Eugene, and I'm their Chief Financial Officer, CFO.
Excellent. Thank you. And Jeff.
Jeff Yamada. I work for MCS Family Wealth Advisors in Eugene. We have an office in Eugene and one in Bend, Oregon. And I am a financial planner and the Chief Compliance Officer.
Excellent. Thanks for being here. Let's go Hope and then Kevin.
Hi, I'm Hope Rogers. I am a Senior Audit Associate at Kernet Stokes in Eugene.
And I'm Kevin Bell. I am a tax partner at Kernet Stokes here in Eugene, a CPA firm.
And last but very not least, Amber.
Hi, my name's Amber White. I am the Chief Financial Officer of Oregon Pacific Bank here in Eugene.
Thank you all for giving us an hour of your time. We really appreciate it. All right, so the very first question, I almost wrote it out as if you were explaining your job description to like a 5th or 6th grader, how would you do it? But instead, I will ask, can you briefly summarize your job duties or job description? And then what role do you play or does your team play in the big picture of what your company does? And let's go in the exact same order. So Amanda.
Okay. I always say that my job is to ensure the financial health of the company and to also set strategy and implement that strategy. So it's been pretty challenging in the current market and just the environment, the COVID environment. And so, pivoting strategy is sometimes a daily thing that has to happen. So, yeah.
Thank you. And Jeff.
So wealth management, my job is essentially helping people navigate financial matters, which can be taxes. I don't do taxes, but we kind of help people with strategy and then refer them to their CPA. We're sort of like a hub. So I will look at someone's estate plan or make recommendations to them to go to an estate planner and get that fixed. We look at their insurance and put them in touch with insurance people. We don't do any of these things so we're not selling anything, but we're advising. So we do a lot of advice around that. And we do a lot of advice around risk and sort of the softer side of what a client wants to do with their money and how to get them there. And with a really big eye on how to do it safely. So how do you reduce risk? Is a lot of what we work on. And then we manage portfolios, we manage money for clients too, their investments.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Jeff. Hope.
For me, so Kernet Stokes, we're a public accounting firm. So we do both audit and tax work. So I actually work on the audit side of things. And at my level, my job on a daily basis is managing projects at the small detail level. So I work with clients, I help them answer questions. I work with staff, I help answer their questions. And we are like, our main job is to kind of like say Amanda's firm was a client that we're working with. So maybe we would go and work with Amanda to help make sure she is actually working on the financial health of her company. So we'll go in and audit how well she's doing in her job, I guess, if that makes sense. And then big picture for me, I have a role in marketing. I have a role in recruiting for new staff. So a lot of that has to do with communication with community and clients. So making sure I have a professional appearance and I'm communicating professionally is a lot of my job as well.
Great. Thanks, Hope.
Yeah, as a partner here at Current Stokes, what I work on is taxes. So from a very high level standpoint, I do taxes. I love taxes and get into the nitty gritty of them. From if I'm trying to just describe my job to somebody in middle school, I would say I manage people, because that's what I do. I manage a lot of people in terms of projects, in terms of clients, and making sure that they're up to date or they know, what's coming down the pipeline. A lot of managing is what I do. I'm also the partner in charge of our tax department. That's another hat I wear. And from that perspective, my role, my responsibility is to make sure that we're technically, up to snuff with what's going on with tax law. And as we're staying up to date on it. The other part is that I'm making sure that our process and procedures for our tax returns, our preparation, our consulting are consistent throughout the firm.
So you really do love taxes. You're not
I
lying.
do. I'm not lying.
He's really not lying. He does love taxes.
It runs in my blood, I could say. There's
Okay.
quite a number of us in my family that do taxes.
Got it. So you found the career for you. That's great.
Yeah.
Amber.
Great. So I actually have the same role that Amanda does, but I'm working in a very different industry. So the way Amanda explained it, looking at the financial health of your company, that's something we're doing here at Oregon Pacific Bank. But because we are a bank, my role is a little bit different. So if you think about most people's relationship with a bank, you open up a deposit account, you put your money in that bank. And the way a bank's business model works is we then take those deposits and we loan them to clients. So if you think about it, there's FDIC insurance, you put your funds in a bank, there's that guarantee up to $250,000 per depositor. You're going to get those funds back. So if the bank makes decisions and we loan to people or we do things that are risky, there's always potential risk that those deposits would have to be drawn upon through the FDIC insurance fund. So we in banking have so much regulation that we have to comply with. So in the finance area, we have a lot of reporting that we're doing on a quarterly basis, on an annual basis. There's so much information that banks are required to provide, both the Federal Reserve, the FDIC, and that's one of the areas that our department in finance really looks at. We also deal with our CPA firm. So we have a CPA firm who specializes in banking, who they come in and do an annual audit for us. But there's a lot of different areas that are very banking specific that we do. There's one thing, and it's called interest rate risk management. And that's a big focus in the banking industry. And really what that means, if you think about it, if we are taking a deposit and loaning it to someone else, we might be paying a certain interest rate on a deposit and then lending that out into a loan that might have a much longer maturity. So what we have to do in the banking industry is understand how our net interest margin, which basically is what we're earning on our interest earning assets and we're paying out on our deposits, the difference between those, how that changes as interest rates adjust. So we have to do a lot of modeling. We have software that we look at. If rates go up, what happens? If rates go down, what happens? To make sure that the bank is around. We are an important role in the community. We are a community bank. We're based in Florence. We only have 5 offices. So for me, it's so important that we're making the right decisions strategically, that we're not risking our reputation, our clients' funds, anything like that. So that's really where my role fits in. Another area that I have that reports up through me, I have the human resources function, the operations function. So I actually touch a lot of different areas, which is common at a small bank. I mean, a lot of people think of a bank like Bank of America or US Bank. We are local. I mean, these people are in Eugene. So I really am passionate about what we're doing and the fact that if you come and bring in your deposits to our bank, it's actually being lent out to businesses, to individuals in our communities. And I'm so passionate about the idea of that we are supporting the communities that we live in. So that's basically what I do here at Oregon Pacific Bank.
That's great. And you actually just tiptoed into the next question, which is talking about each of your company's culture. Amber, I'll just kick it right back to you. Can you tell us a little bit more about Oregon Pacific Bank's culture and what you look for in new hires to kind of perpetuate that culture?
Definitely. So one of the things that we believe is really important is finding employees who want to help our clients. We are here to find solutions, and that is something that's so important when we're dealing with a business client who's bringing in deposits, who's wanting to set up remote deposit capture or doing ACH, doing these processes. We need to find ways to help them. So I think really looking for employees who want to problem solve, who want to figure out, why is this not working? What can we do to fix it? That's something that's so important. And, the interesting part about banking is that a lot of people that you meet in the banking industry are sort of accidental bankers. There may be someone who out of college didn't really know what they wanted to do and they took a job as a teller. They started working there, and our industry is so known for advancement within the company, where you have somebody who starts as a teller, who moves to a new accounts role, who starts underwriting loans, who moves higher, that there's so much opportunity for growth if you have that initiative. And seeing people who come in and who want to help and want to fix things, that's so important. I mean, even having a personal banker who's in there, who's actively greeting clients, that shows us as a company, they care about these clients, they want to make a good impression, and they want to advance within the company. So I think that's one of the things that we really look for.
That's excellent. Thank you, Amber. Kevin and Hope, can you talk a little bit about Kernet Stokes culture and what you look for in new hires?
Sure. Kevin, do you want to start off with talking about our values?
I'll start off because one of the part of that question that you didn't ask was our core values. And I think that's really important because our core values drive what we do and who we are. And we have three, and they're pretty simplistic: people, integrity, and excellence. And that drives everything we do. And in terms of our leadership here at Kernet Stokes, nearly every meeting, every partner meeting that we have, we discuss these three core values. People are what make us great. If we don't have good people, we're not going to be a great firm. Integrity, if we're not doing what's right, then that's going to get out there and we're not going to have a good reputation. And part of integrity is also telling our clients that they can't do something, telling them the hard stuff. And excellence, everybody's looking for a great job. Excellence is what's going to set us apart. So as we look at the culture of Kernet Stokes, that's what's driving it. Those three core values. So then I'll kick it to you, Hope.
Oh, yeah. And so a few other things on those, just from like a staff perspective. So I can feel that like Kernet Stokes feels like people are important. They're their number one on those core values, because I am one of those people. And I know that I get like, they think I am important. I feel important as a part of Kernet Stokes. So that's kind of nice to get both the partners, perspective and the staff perspective on that. We also recently were announced one of the 100 best companies to work for in Oregon, which I think really helps add to that. Like their core values are actually like translating into tangible things, like the employees spoke up and said, we like where we're working. And so they've done a really good job there. Also, as far as how that translates into like the KS culture, I've always felt like we have this really great open door policy. So I feel like Kevin's a partner, and we were just in his office chatting about this for the last, half an hour before this meeting. And then I was talking to him about it, and I was saying, I feel like I could walk into anybody's office in this building, even the managing partner who is, he's a busy guy, but I could walk in at any time and ask him how his weekend was, or ask him a really complex accounting question, and I would feel welcome either way. So there's this great open door policy, which I think is an awesome part of our culture. Kevin, anything to add to that?
I think the other things to touch on, and you can confirm or Hope, is in terms of a culture, we have a growth-oriented culture in that we want people to reach their highest and best abilities and potential. And if someone's coming out of high school, college, or whatever, and they're looking for a place to grow, we want to be that place, and quite frankly, anywhere they go should be a place that's going to help them grow and advance in their career. And going along with that is in terms of growth and giving people proper training is being supportive of new ideas, supportive of new ventures, which again, getting back to our people integrity and excellence is, hey, we got to be supportive of people and what they want to do.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, you've sold me. I'm ready. I'm ready to move over. Jeff, right before we had all the panels on this call, you mentioned that you've kind of shrunk your staff to about 2 of you. So I feel like your answer may be slightly different, but can you talk about company culture and values?
Well, yeah, sure. We're definitely a smaller office. So I was trying to think about finance, and so wealth manager is an undefined. There's no legal definition for what that means. Like financial planner is the same thing. So the financial advice industry, when you talk about investments and financial planning, is generally divided into broker dealer side and a registered investment advisor side. We're a registered investment advisor, and on that side, like what Kevin and Hope do, what an attorney does, when you're in that position, your standard of care, how you treat clients, you are required to put their interests before your own, and you're required to act as a fiduciary. On the broker-dealer side, insurance, these other financial products, they usually are being sold to someone. So there's this conflict with an insurance agent. They get a commission. So they depending on what they sell you, they get paid by what they sell you. So our job is to stand between our clients and these people who are trying to sell them things. So when you talk about culture, it's the idea that you have to manage your conflicts of interest. You have to put your client's interest before your own. You have to treat people like you're investing for yourself, or you're investing for your mom, or something like that. Yeah. So that's a big part of our culture, and what we look for is transparency with employees. We look for a diversity of experience, so they understand how to talk to different people. You have to meet people where they are. So there's a lot of, when you're talking about advising people about their estate, or giving their money away, or how do they deal with their kids, how do they protect their interests, you need to be able to be a good listener. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the other part of it, and I'm sure everybody on this panel would say, another value is you work hard to know your industry, to know technically how everything works. Because if you have a good technical grasp of everything, then once you work with a client to figure out what they need, then you know how to put that together and get them to where they need to go. So you talk about, like, how do we look for new hires? So we've outsourced a lot of our jobs that aren't really dealing with advice. So when we would hire somebody, we would look for a new advisor. So in looking for new advisors, we look for this track record of technical competence, ability to be transparent and open when we're interviewing someone. You can tell when you're interviewing somebody and they're trying to hide something that they don't want you to know. So when I encourage everybody, when a person who's coming in to interview, to just be as open as possible, because what happens when you're not open when you interview is you maybe get a job that you really want where you're not a good fit because you weren't transparent about your interview process. Mm-hmm. So really to just be really open and transparent. So yeah, I think I don't want to take up too much time.
It's all good. We always remind the students that we're working with that are close to entering the workforce that in interviews you are also interviewing a company, and so you need to be looking for signals that you want to work there and like values. And so yes, thank you, Jeff. Amanda, last but not least, tell us about Ninkasi. We're all dying to know.
Oh, well, Ninkasi is a little bit unique. We really have a diverse group of team members, and they thrive in a very relaxed, collaborative, very inclusive environment. So when we're looking for a team member to join our team, one of the things that we really look for is a commitment to continuous improvement, where it's one of our core values. We're constantly trying to not only improve ourselves, but improve processes, procedures, everything we do on a daily basis. And, just probably collaborative problem solving is something that we we engage in every single day. And so comfortable working in teams is another thing. And then I would say also just looking for individuals who grasp problem solving and analytical abilities. I always say, like, the answer is not in the back of the book in in real life. And so we always are looking for individuals who just naturally like to attack problems and do so creatively. And then I'd say the last thing is probably we have a very autonomous culture, meaning that there isn't a lot of a ton of oversight and management. It's everybody does their job and does it well. And so a commitment to accountability and ownership is huge to work at Ninkasi.
Thank you, Amanda. So I'm going to open up the next question to anyone who has their answer ready. But what do you wish you had known before you started your career path? And would you do anything differently? Is there a change you would make? And again, I'll be quiet so someone, yeah, Kevin.
I'll start because I love this question. I have thought about it a lot over my years. And I mean, I've been in the industry, 15, 16 years, but in the accounting industry, one thing that I didn't understand, and I don't think we teach it enough in our schools, is that, especially for accounting, we're in the people business. We're in the people business. There's a misconception that we're in the numbers game, and we're not. We're in the people's business to help people solve their problems, to provide them solutions and options. And that's one of the things that I wish I would have known is that, and then how to more effectively interact with people and connect with people, which then leads into my second, I think in my mind, one of the second most important things to learn that I didn't really appreciate coming out of school is communicating effectively, whether that be the written word or verbally and speaking in public. I am very passionate that those are some of the most important skills that somebody coming into the workforce needs to know, because we communicate with people every day. And so those are the two things that I would throw out there, is that with things that I wish I had known and focused on a little bit more in my earlier years as an accountant.
Yeah. So follow-up question, when you say that you wish you would have focused on them more, do you wish you had taken workshops? Do you think wish you had taken a communications course that maybe you passed up? How could you have practiced those things?
That's a great question. As I think about myself, I was much more of a reserved, individual. I would have probably tried to get out more, talk to more people, join more groups, be much more outgoing, and put me in those situations where I'm required to talk or speak with people. I think that would have helped out quite a bit. The classes I think are great. I took some great classes in my college years. But I think getting out and actually starting to practice something and doing it and, rubbing elbows with people, that I think is one of the most beneficial things, to start learning how to communicate, how to connect with people.
That's a great answer. And there are so few barriers to that answer. It's not a course you needed to take at a university. It's something that literally anyone could go do. Thanks, Kevin. Who else?
I can go.
Amy?
I feel like when I went into accounting, I pictured that I'd be working in spreadsheets and solving problems. I mean, you go, through college and there's a right answer to everything. You're doing accounting work. And I think the reality is I do very little in my job that's me and a spreadsheet solving a problem. Yes, of course I use spreadsheets all the time, but a lot of what I'm having to do is evaluate data and make decisions where there's not necessarily a correct answer. We're having to decide, do we want to move into a certain market? What is that going to look like from a cost standpoint? How many loans do we need to put on for us to break even in going into that market? Do we believe we have the ability to grow there? There's no right answer.
Oh, no. She froze for me as well, right as my palms were sweating. What she's saying is making me so anxious. That's not the career field for me. Oh, dang. Okay, well, I'm gonna, let's jump over to someone else while she rejoins. Thanks,
I-
Amanda.
I just wish I knew that the different career paths that existed within accounting and finance. And because I thought that accounting and finance was like banking. And so it's a whole world of different opportunities. So I think the thing that I would change in my career, if I knew before, is probably, which there's nothing against public accounting, but I probably would have made the transition to the private sector a little bit sooner. And primarily just because I enjoy it so much. I enjoyed public accounting too, but I really like the private sector. So.
And do you think that you didn't take the leap earlier just because you hadn't experienced it, and so you weren't really sure if the grass was greener? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't really know what that looked like and what my day-to-day would be. And so I ultimately talked to some professionals that were in the private sector, and at that point decided to make the move.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. Amber, we lost you mid-sentence.
What was I even saying? No, I'm just kidding. No, and I guess the piece that I just wanted to highlight is that to have the type of role that I have or Amanda has, you have to feel comfortable operating in that gray, that there are some things that there's a right answer, and there are some things that you have to evaluate and make the best decision based on the facts that you have. And it's feeling comfortable doing that. I think that's the piece that for some people, it's harder to do, even the decision-making process, that I have to feel comfortable that I might not have all the facts, but based on the information I have, I'm doing what I believe is best for the company. And, I have my resources. I also have to understand, that decisions aren't made in a vacuum, that I need to talk to other people, that I need to vet things. And like Kevin talked about, the people business, talking with people and understanding how change is going to be received, how the decisions that I make are going to affect our employees or our clients. It's so important. And being able to try to vet that before you make decisions is so critical, I think, in all of our jobs. So I think I underestimated that when I thought I was selecting a career in accounting, that I would be doing numbers all the time. And I love numbers, don't get me wrong, but this is what makes you a CFO and not an accountant. So.
Right. Do you think that as you, throughout your career, as you made larger, more important, educated, not guesses, but educated, like projections, do you think that you gained confidence in your ability to do that? Or is that something that, you trust your gut, you trust you have the information, and that you are making the best choice?
Well, I think especially earlier on in my career, when I was a controller first, I had a CFO, and I would go through the process of vetting and coming up with, okay, this is what I think. Let's go through this decision. And, you have a mentor, you have someone to talk to earlier on in your career that helps you with that confidence, especially when it's, oh, well, have you thought about this? Or they can give you a different perspective. And through that dialogue and through those experiences, yes, you absolutely gain that confidence. Where right now, I mean, yes, I'm the CFO, but I also have people around me that I can discuss things with. So that's helpful. But yeah.
Thanks, Amber. Jeff or Hope? Anything to add, Jeff?
I'm going to come at this from a bit of a different angle, maybe. So based on my experience, So I grew up, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, Japanese American in California. And it wasn't until my 40s really when I started to feel like I came into myself in this way. So I grew up in a really racist place. And I found myself always kind of making myself smaller. Like, I mean, maybe women have this same experience, because I was more willing to accept what people offered me. I like work really hard and then get noticed, but it wasn't like I would try to put myself out there. And so I wish before I started my career path that I had a little more confidence in going for the jobs that I thought that I could do. Because I was afraid that I wouldn't be accepted there. So working on, and it's hard, it's really hard to go into a situation when you feel like, I could be, when you never know if like you're the person dismissing you or saying no to you is doing it because you really aren't qualified for that job, or it's just they don't like you, for other reasons. So I wish I had better skills to manage that and more confidence as a younger person. So yeah, there may be kids who watch this who are going to have that may be helpful for.
There will absolutely be kids that watch this that will be helpful for. So thank you so much for kind of taking your own interpretation of the question. That's excellent. Thank you. And Hope.
For me, I had a really hard time coming up with what I wish I had known, but all of the answers that I've heard already are like spot on completely. So I feel like what Amber was saying for now she's making a lot of decisions without really having the right answer. There's no perfect answer. I completely agree with that. I think for now at more of a staff level from that perspective, I am doing a lot of Excel spreadsheet work. So there is that when you start out, so you'll enjoy it. Like people who do love those numbers and the crunching and all of that in Excel, you will get the opportunity to do that at some point. But as I progressed in my career, I'm seeing a lot less of that and a lot more of there's no right answer. You kind of just have to figure out what's the best route for the client, best route for the team. So there's definitely more of that. One thing that I wish I could change about how I got to my place now where I am in my career, I wish I had done it earlier. So I took a few more years in college and I dabbled in classes here and there, and I didn't get the experience of an accounting class until I had been in college for, I think, 2 years. And so I wish that I had had the opportunity to try it in high school even, or sometime when I was younger, because my very first chance of trying accounting, I knew that was what I wanted to do. So I wish I had the opportunity to try something like this earlier.
That's a really excellent point. And I also didn't go to a high school that offered accounting classes, but I'm currently working with a cohort of Springfield High School students that are currently in Accounting 1 or Accounting 2 classes. And nice. Like you were talking about with your first class, the light bulb went on. And for these students that we're placing in micro internships at local companies, the light bulbs went off. All of them have this attachment to accounting that I have not seen in other career technical classes. So I hear and see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like if it clicks, it really does click, and then you just kind of know. So
yeah, thanks, Hope. Amanda, are there any entry-level positions at Ninkasi that could potentially lead to a job in your department?
Yeah, we have a lot of varying, because we are manufacturing, we have a lot of entry-level positions. We do hire staff accountant positions that ultimately I actually have a couple individuals who have started in different departments and have migrated into my department. So they may have started in doc sales or in our tasting room, and now they're doing payables. So that's definitely a possibility.
That's great. Growing your own people. I love it, which is something that Amber also talked about. So Amber, does the same apply at OPB? Could someone come on as a teller and make their way to your team?
Absolutely. I think that if I would have any advice, if you have an interest in a career in banking, don't frown upon a teller job, because that is your entry gateway into a career in banking. There are so many people that's how they started in banking. And specifically in the finance department, we have a lot of people that start in that accounts payable role. That's sort of the entry level accounting position. And it's not just for us, it's not just payables. There are a lot of other duties, certifications, other things that are happening with that position, but that's really gets you into the department. We also have a controller who has other, higher level review responsibilities and things like that. But I mean, we are a 3-person accounting department. So, we're a fairly small company with that, but the bank in general, even beyond just the accounting department, there are so many other areas that accounting impacts. We have commercial lenders, we have credit analysts that understanding a balance sheet and an income statement, understanding how a company's cash flows work. You have to know how to do that to be able to underwrite a loan. So even if being, in the accounting department of a bank is not something that interests you, being a lender, we have other roles where we have people who are working specifically on deposit gathering, where it is their job to work with clients and bring them on and bring those deposits. That's the lifeblood of our bank. That's how we operate, is gathering those deposits to be able to lend them out, and having to understand how to review bank statements from other banks, understand cash flows of their company, because we have to underwrite and understand the risk for all of these products. So there are so many different avenues in banks for entry level people just coming out of college that you can really, shoot off into a lot of different areas. So
Yeah.
Banking, think about it, guys, trust me.
And tellering, that was the first real job that I had, and it was one of my favorites I will ever have. I've always thought that I'll go back to being a teller if I ever get tired of any career I'm in. Thanks, Amber. And then Hope and Kevin, can you speak to that at all? Do you hire entry level positions at Kernet Stokes, and what does that progression look like?
So we have internships. We do internships in the summer and in the winter for college students. So you don't have to be graduated. It'd be like between your sophomore and junior year, or your junior and senior year. And then that's actually how I got a job at Kernet Stokes. So I did a summer internship between my junior and senior year, and then got an offer for a full-time job out of that internship before I had even graduated. Wow. Which was wonderful. So I didn't have to stress about getting great grades my whole senior year. I could just kidding. I did great anyway, but it was a really nice career path for me. Kevin, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think, well, yeah, I'll add a little bit to it. And what I think is exciting, at least in the public accounting world, if you enjoy that, this atmosphere, is that you can go from a staff accountant, a new hire, intern, all the way up to eventually becoming a partner and an owner in the business, in making all the hard decisions and running the business, which is again something that you learn as you go along. So I think that's an exciting opportunity too.
Excellent. Thank you all. And Jeff, I'm not skipping you on that question, but I think it's fair to say that you might not have entry level positions at MCS. But I do want to ask you, I'd love you to answer this question first. I'm noticing more and more, and understandably so, that the incoming workforce is going to be particularly sensitive to how pandemic proof different career paths are when choosing a career path. How did COVID affect your company, your job, and were you able to work remotely?
For me?
Yes.
Well, I would say COVID had very little effect on our job because I was already working remotely. Because the advice field, I can we have clients all over the country. So I could travel to clients to meet them if I had to. And during COVID, we just meet them outside rather than in. But I started with MCS in Eugene in 2004. In 2012, I had to move to Oklahoma, and I just kept my job and I just started working from Oklahoma. And it was all remote from then. That was kind of, I would come back for the summers and I'd work out of the office. But we've been remote, for a good long time now. I think in general, and you guys can all help me with this too, in the advice field, it's much easier to be remote. Accountants doing people's taxes, you can see people, but it's not like you have to be in front of somebody every day. And the same with our field. We do a lot over Zoom, we do a lot for phone calls, but and then I'll go out flying out to California next month, and I just line up all my client appointments in a week, and we meet outdoors, and it's safe, and so it's had a very little impact on our work. And even our operations team is up in Seattle. Our computers are not in our office, they're somewhere else. It's all over. So it's it's very pandemic friendly. You can say that.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. And Kevin, I thought for a moment there you were going to add something. Go for it.
Oh, the idea of the advice fields and such, and I totally agree with Jeff. You can do this remotely, at least in terms of our firm, at least Kearns Stokes is, and I think public accounting in general, is that before the pandemic, a lot of employees went into the office, and so having to work from home was a little bit of a change of pace. And what you're seeing now, at least in the accounting industry, is a lot of discussion whether or not we should bring people back into the office or to continue to allow them to work from home. And the one thing that we have learned is that it is possible to work from home in the accounting world. We as a firm ourselves were, when the pandemic hit, we had just recently gone paperless. You think of tax returns and audits, you think a lot of paper. Well, we still had a lot of paper, but we, right before the pandemic, we had spent the whole previous year going paperless. And so it was actually a pretty smooth transition. We ended up, supporting our staff and buying a bunch of, additional computer equipment and such so they can work from home. And we're still doing that. So we're able to work from home. One of the things that I did want to touch on, at least in the accounting industry and the tax side of things, is that we were actually probably busier than ever last year during COVID. And the reason we were, is because whenever there's new tax laws or tax bills that are going through, people are always asking, hey, CPA, what is this? What are we doing? And not only that, but there were also certain other laws that went through, some stimulus things such as the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program that went through, that a lot of people were coming to their CPAs, even though it wasn't really a CPA-esque issues, but they were coming to us for guidance. And so we had to learn a lot of that on our own and work with the banks and such. And so as we like to consider ourselves as trusted advisors, and so that's why they're coming to us. So again, coming back to the idea, we were busier last year than ever, and it was good to be able to be there for our clients and be able to say, hey, let us help you through this hard time, and have them lean on us. So again, we were busier than ever. We had plenty of work, and I'm sure a lot of CPAs were in that same situation.
Yeah, but able to pivot to work remotely pretty seamlessly. So that's great. Hope, were you going to add something?
I was just going to say that's definitely a job security that we have as accountants, right? We have to deal with all of those changes as they come. So, I mean, we have to be at the front of them and ready for them. So, job security, COVID, or any other crisis, we will have a job. I think I wouldn't be worried about that. And then now that we can work remotely, I mean, I'm in the office right now. Kevin is in the office right now, but the majority of our staff are working from home right now. So, I think we've done it pretty well. This whole COVID pandemic, working from home, we got it handled.
Nice. Amber, I saw your face when Kevin said PPP loan. I can't imagine you were busy during the PPP loan.
Just a little. Well, it's actually interesting too, and thinking about the pandemic and working from home. So banking is actually considered an essential service. So our employees were coming into the office. People needed to come to the bank to get into their safe deposit boxes, to cash checks. And we had to staff to have employees here to be able to help those clients. Now, yes, we did outfit a lot of additional employees during the pandemic who previously did not work from home. So for example, human resources. In the past, they were in the office. It was part of their job to be there to interface with employees, but from a safety standpoint, to make sure that we have all of these essential employees able to do their jobs, we had a lot of people work from home. I actually worked from home for about 6 weeks. It's not something I personally enjoyed. So I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they were doing online school, and I was trying to deal with, everything else in the world. So for me, coming into the office was something I wanted to be here. And also because we had employees who had to be here, I felt like it was very important for me to be a presence in the office. The last thing that I wanted was for employees who had to be here feel like they were on the, short end of the stick, and, oh, the executives or the other people are just working from home. We have offices, we have social distancing here, and I wanted to be here because, as Kevin mentioned, PPP, this Paycheck Protection Program loan, our bank was working, especially during that first round of PPP. We had employees who were working 7 days a week from 6 in the morning till 11 at night. And the reason they were doing that is there was a limited amount of funds. We didn't know if there were going to be more funds available, and we were doing everything we could to secure those loans for our clients. And that was the best part about being a small community bank, is that some of the larger banks had to put processes in place or weren't really ready, where we said, these clients need this money. I mean, do you know what it's like to have someone calling you crying because they don't know if they're going to be able to make their loan payment or pay their employees? So to see the group of bankers that we have in all of our offices rally together and do everything they could for all of their clients, I've never been prouder to be a banker, just to see, that work that took place. But I guess as we start looking forward, it'll be interesting to see. We've had a lot of people returning to the office. So I work in the office full time right now. That's where I want to be. We have some people, that are still maybe dealing with childcare issues or other things like that. But for the most part, at least at this avenue, I'm seeing banking where we're having more people in the office than working remotely as we move into the future. So
Thanks, Amber. Amanda, how does it look at Ninkasi, or how did it look?
Well, Ninkasi was a little bit different. I mean, currently right now I'm in Sun River. So clearly I remotely.
I think we've lost our second one. As soon as she said Sun River, they were like, nope, you can't work, you're in Sun River. Oh.
If you hear a 1-year-old in the back. Oh man.
I think, are you live right now? You can, okay, good. No,
Yep.
we're back. We're back if you're back.
So we are also in the food and beverage industry. And so that was considered an essential as well.
Shoot.
And so we individuals coming into work, but we transitioned a lot of whatever jobs could feasibly be done remotely. We transitioned them to remote.
Okay, great. You cut out a tiny bit there, but I think to recap, you redeemed an essential business because you're in the food and beverage industry. And so those staff that you could send home, you did, but others, the door stayed open and others did continue to work.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Great. So I'm just checking the time. We have under 10 minutes and we still have a handful of questions that I would love to get to. Does anyone have just like a burning answer to the question around what is something so important, or what's the most important thing that you gained from your high school experience that helps you now in your current role? And
I
I'll just-
can.
Yep, go for it.
Because I'm in my current role because of high school. I was searching for a major in college, and I actually thought back to my personal finance class in high school, and I was like, I really like that. Like, maybe I'll just try a basic accounting class, and yeah. So good teacher, and just the exposure to it, I think was
That's
what
great.
did it.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. Hope there's that light bulb again. Yeah, Kevin.
Oh, I'll throw it really out real quickly out there. It's a skill, and I didn't really identify it until I was in college, but I know I picked it up in high school, and that is learning how to learn or understand how your learning process, because you're going to continue to learn throughout the rest of your career and everything. And if you figure out the method that helps you learn the quickest and the best, you're unstoppable. So I'm going to real quickly learn how to learn.
Learn how to learn. I like it. Jeff.
So I'm going to take this from a little bit different. So it's really interesting. The thing I learned the most, that I gained from high school. I started working when I was 14, and I saved money. I was fortunate. I was kind of privileged in a position where I didn't have to contribute to family bills with what I earned. So my parents let me save that. And that savings allowed me to, there was a high school German club, they took a trip to Germany and rode bikes through Germany for a month. And I wasn't even a German student. I'm like, that sounds so cool. And I knew I had the money saved. So I switched to German. I was like in French 4 or 5 and switched to German. I'm a German student now. Rode my bike through Germany for a month with this group, became a German, concentration. That was my business concentration when I got to college because I just loved it. Ended up, so it's funny how like this one thing, when you take advantage of an opportunity, can lead you in a lot of different directions. So it was the combination of being able to save money, and then being able to leverage that into something that was an adventure. And that led me to, I ended up, working in Switzerland and, and then got a job at this headquarters of the Swiss Bank in New York after that. So it's this combination of, being able to save money and take advantage of opportunities when they arise. A lot of students who come from a socioeconomic background where they can't take an unpaid internship. You think of like, there's all these great internships that help you move forward. But if you are, challenged with finances, you can't take these sometimes. So if you can save up enough money to get yourself by. So not spending money on, it's kind of boring, but I didn't blow my money on things that were sort of frivolous. I saved my money. So that was one of the big skills in high school that helped me take advantage of some opportunities that I just would not have been available to me otherwise.
Great. Good advice from an advisor. Thanks, Jeff. Anyone else? Amber or Hope? No? Okay. No, I'm seeing a lot of this. That's totally fine. No, I like it. So my next question for you all is around skills. So both technical and professional. We often hear professional skills being referred to as soft skills. We're trying to rebrand them as professional skills. And so I'm just curious, what are the 3 most important skills to hone, in your opinions, both technical and professional, to be successful in your industry or your career?
I have a few.
Yep, go for
No
it.
one else wants to jump right in. So I think Kevin and I will probably copy each other on this one, but I'll let him speak to this more later. But communication, he's kind of already talked about that a lot. So I'll let him hit on it more if he wants to. But communication or people skills, I think, is one really big one. The second one I have is problem solving. So I think, Amanda, you probably would hit on that one too, being able to problem solve, take a big problem that seems overwhelming, break it into little parts and find those smaller answers, and then you've solved a bigger problem. And then the last one would be time management. So being able to organize your week, your day, your hour, all of the things that you have to do on this big list, kind of like problem solving, you break them down into things that I can get done now, put off the things that can be done later, just managing your time. I think those are the 3 skills that I would push for.
Excellent. Thank you, Hope. Kevin, any to add, or were they the exact same 3?
I would just throw it. No, they're not I'll just add one more, and that's people skills. I kind of touched on that earlier, is just people skills and connecting with people and relating to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust building for sure. Who's next?
I'll throw one other thing that's maybe not an actual skill, but something that matters. And I guess I feel like I learned this early on in my career, that like perceptions matter in some cases. And so for me, especially being a younger person in the role that I had, sometimes I felt like people were looking at me thinking, oh, does she know what she's doing? Does this person's the CFO of the bank? She's awfully young. I mean, maybe they're not saying that anymore. I don't know. But for me, some of the things that I would try to control related to that is like professional appearance, that we live in a society where those things do matter. So because I felt like people would look at me and I was young and I couldn't control that, what I could control is how professionally I presented myself. So, you know, investing in a professional wardrobe, presenting yourself in a certain way, it does matter. And so that was the piece that I really felt like I could control. So if that meant wearing a nice dress or doing that, I don't know, it did matter, at least in my career in banking, especially early on in my career. So that's something to think about, I guess.
Yeah, probably boosted your confidence and your self-esteem, which this is not the same, but my mom always says, fake it till you make it. So when you start, you know, walking and talking and acting so professionally, everyone around you is going to feel it as well. Thanks, Amber. Jeff or Amanda, last minute, anything to add to those skills?
I had the same 2, communication, problem solving, but then my last one was really mastering accounting fundamentals, just really down to the debits and the credits. You'd be surprised how sometimes those get glossed over. So,
Thanks, Amanda. And Jeff.
I'm going to, so I think, yes, absolutely, whatever you said. And so the way the question is here is like what to better prepare yourself. And I just have 3 kids who they're all in college now, but they were recently through high school. And one of the things, and even with a pandemic, it's been really hard, as much as you can in high school. I think I'm like joining clubs and learning how to work in groups. You can do that in high school. I think that's a great skill to hone in high school. And then really like focus on things you really like to do, because you really, what we all want, and everybody wants, people who are really technically competent, and how you get there is really liking what you do. So I loved math. I mean, no nerd. But that liking math, understanding processes, helped me tons in all of my jobs. So those are the 2 things I've had.
I love it. I was waiting for someone to say math. I've heard a lot of crunching numbers, but math. Awesome. Well, we are just a minute over time. I want to thank all 5 of you so very much for giving us an hour of your evening. I'm wishing everyone a happy holiday. And to those folks joining us live, we will see you back in February for a discussion around apprenticeships, actually. We're going to kind of throw in a curveball, but it's been requested. So in February, join us for a conversation around local apprenticeship opportunities. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks. It's fun.
Thank you. Yeah.